Welcome to another episode of Jabba, the vocal part of the networking magazine. I'm your host, Sanj Saigal, and today we have a very special guest joining us. Please welcome Ron Mookerjee, who runs Talk to Ron. Ron is a renowned debt expert helping business owners with debt-related issues. Thank you, Ron, for joining me.
Thank you, Sanj. I'm excited to be here and to share some of my insights with the audience.
Well, why don't we dive straight in and talk about your expertise? Can you give us a brief overview of what you do?
Yeah, sure. So I'm a debt recovery lawyer by background, and I do three things mainly. Mm-hmm. I offer debt recovery services, mainly to law firms. I also draft terms and conditions. But the thing that I'm very passionate about is I help company directors who, let's just say their business is in trouble, right, and it's gone bust. Right. So what happens when a business goes bust is it goes into liquidation or administration, some form of insolvency. And 9 times out of 10, these company directors would have signed something called a personal guarantee.
Right.
And basically that's what I do, is I help company directors who have signed those personal guarantees.
So just for the audience, can you explain exactly what the personal guarantee is?
Yeah, sure. So let's just say Mr. A, he's running a business which is doing okay. Mm-hmm. And then suddenly something happens whereby, through no control of his own, one of his suppliers goes bust.
Right.
Therefore, leaving him some sort of cash flow problem. And because he or she has been making ends meet, but all of a sudden can't, mm-hmm, they start to take out loans.
Right.
And as a consequence of her taking out a loan, the company itself says, we want a loan for, let's just say, £10,000.
Right.
But the lender would say, okay, Mr. A, you've taken out this agreement for £10,000. I've done a credit check on you, and I'm not sure if you're credit worthy enough because of the state of your business. So what I require is a secondary source of security.
Right.
Now, it could be a variety of different things, but usually they ask for a personal guarantee. And what that means is, when a company goes bust, let's just say Mr. A was paying £500 a month on right. this agreement. It's a loan agreement, company's paying it. As soon as that company goes bust, lender or creditor says, right, I gave you £10,000, but with interest, with costs, mm-hmm, that debt is now £15,000. Oh. And I don't want you to pay £500 a month. I want you to pay £15,000, and I want that payment yesterday.
Right.
Basically.
Right.
So let's just say this is not only one debt. This could be 7, 8, 9, 10. It could be more. It could be less.
I guess it's easy to spiral, really, isn't it?
Correct. Yeah. And before you know it, it could be £30,000 in debt.
Yeah.
£100,000 in debt. £500,000 in debt. And for a business owner who historically thought, I'm going to put my company under because that's the easiest thing to do, I'm not making any money, herein lies, like, literally another can of worms. And that company director is then struggling because they don't know what's the best solution forward. Do I go to a solicitor? My accountant is saying, I can't do any more for you because your business is no more. So, you and I have finished. They've gone to an insolvency practitioner who are saying to them, we now act for the company. There's a conflict of interest because you're a company director. You no longer own your company. We can't help you. You need to go and get legal advice or some sort of advice. Mm-hmm. And there is literally nothing out there. And for a company director, if they go and speak to a solicitor, they might say, okay, Mr. A, give me £250 an hour. And does Mr. A have those means to pay? Probably they do, and in that case, great. But with the clients that I deal with, Sanjay, it's not the case.
Right. Well, it sounds like you provide quite a comprehensive service for business owners facing debt challenges. Is there any success story that you can provide without dropping any names? That sort of thing. Is there a particular case you can remember during your journey that would be relevant to the audience?
Yeah, sure. So there are a few. I'm sector agnostic in terms of who I help. Mm-hmm. But I remember when I set my business up around about 8 years ago, mm-hmm. and one of the first clients that I got was, let's just call her Rebecca. That's not her real name, mm-hmm. but let's call her Rebecca. She had £100,000 worth of debt. She was running a media agency, and she had offices on near in SC1, on the River Thames, mm-hmm. and basically her office space rental was crippling her. Mm-hmm. She basically couldn't afford it, but in keeping up appearances, because she was running a media agency, she had to, or that's what she felt.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, one of her clients, she lost a big client of hers, and her monthly income that her business was earning, say, I think it was 5 figures. All of a sudden, it dropped to below 5 figures, below £10,000. And she's got all this debt, not enough income, didn't know what to do. And, I had met her, and through a referral, it was through an accountant that I had met her, mm-hmm. Because that's where I get my referrals from.
Right.
And she basically sat down and said, Ron, I don't know what to do. Do I bankrupt myself? I don't have enough to basically sustain my business. Right. I can't think because there's just too much going on. Rather than running my business, all I'm doing is dealing with all these paperwork, and I'm getting stressed. I can't sleep. I'm crying. Mm-hmm. I'm fearful that bailiffs are going to turn up on my doorstep. So being a lawyer, I could help with some of that by being like the gatekeeper to ensure that she could carry on doing her business, grow her business again, while I basically take care of her pain. So I managed to halve her debt on some of the, so basically she ended up paying £50,000 of debt. So I did a lot of negotiation on her behalf. And this is not a quick win. This was over a 6-month period. So that's one. I had another business, £250,000 turnover, and this is trades. I do get a lot of trades coming my way, so bathroom fitters, construction companies. They end up signing personal guarantees, just left, right, and centre, because all they're trying to do is keep their head above water. Mm-hmm. In that situation, I was successful maybe about 70%.
Right.
But the remainder, because they'd left it too late or didn't give me the paperwork on time, effectively they had CCJs in their name and bailiffs turning up to the door.
Wow.
So I've had calls with them where they're literally crying on the phone to me saying, Ron, I don't know what to do. Bailiffs turned up. I thought I'd give you the paperwork, but I haven't. I'm really sorry. I don't know what the next step is. So being a lawyer, I can basically take them through some steps as to what they need to do and how they need to go about dealing with situations like this.
Right.
I got another one where, he was subject to bankruptcy. I was able to look at what he had signed, look at the terms and conditions of the information that he was given by the lender, that this lender had given him a significant sum of money. And he basically literally signed without checking the small print. And as a consequence of that, found himself to be in a sticky situation once his business had gone bust.
Wow.
So we did a part negotiation on that debt. So he paid part of the debt, and part of it was like, okay, fine, we'll do a deal with you because, you dispute that side of things.
So, talking about sorry, no, I was just about to say, it's a fascinating insight to different cases that you've dealt with. How did you get involved with this sector? Where did your story begin?
Okay, so I say this with a sigh because it's actually been a long road for me. So I've been doing this. I've been in this industry for 2 decades,
Wow.
20 years.
Yeah.
There's nothing that I've not seen. But I started off in debt recovery, working usually for corporates in in-house departments. And mostly when you're in debt recovery, if someone's in debt, dare I say it, you tend to treat debtors, as it's the industry term, like criminals.
Right.
But we've lent you money, you've not paid us. We're now going to take whatever means possible to try and get that money back. And as a result of that, it's understanding debt recovery from top to toe, which means like issuing proceedings and that kind of thing.
Right.
Around 15 years ago, I was married and I lost my marriage.
Right.
But it wasn't the marriage that kind of annoyed me. What really annoyed me was the fact that I was left £200,000 in debt.
Wow.
And it's like, how do you get out of this? And I remember at that time working for mortgage companies. And then the mortgage company's like, sorry, you have to go, can't have a job anymore. And me trying to get other jobs in the mortgage loan industry, personal loan industry, that kind of thing. And I kid you not, Sanj, there were lots of prospective employers who had said to me, look, you've got the perfect skill set for you to join our team because you've got the brilliant experience. However, we can't employ you because your credit history is shot.
Wow.
And I'm like, but it's not my fault, due to my circumstances.
Happen, right? It's quite easy
it can
to happen.
Yeah. It can happen. Yeah, but that's our rules and regulations, or that's our policy. Sure. Sorry, tough.
Yeah.
And I found myself out on a limb. And what I realised, Sanj, is that in time, I had the skill set where I knew what creditors were looking for when they issue legal proceedings.
Right.
And on the flip side, because I was in debt myself, I was able to help, business owners get out of debt.
You had first-hand experience yourself.
Exactly. So I understand the emotional benefit and the difficulties that they have gone through.
Yeah.
And because I can empathize with them, that means I can help facilitate a way forward.
Yeah.
And I had one of my clients actually say this the other day. He said, you're not like, and I mean no disrespect to any professional services out there, because, I work in professional services myself.
Sure.
But what I was told by this client of mine was like, you're the working man or working ladies specialist.
Right.
And he's a plumber,
You kind of humanized it, haven't you? You kind of humanized the process by that empathetic link, that the empathy that you give your clients because of what you've lived through. So I can understand that you've humanized it, and that you give a unique service, or at least a unique perspective on it. So let's talk about let's talk a little bit about what you're looking for. I mean, this podcast is going out. Who are you appealing to? Is there a particular type of client you're looking for? Is there like a model of client that would be very interested to to get in contact with you?
Yeah, so I usually look to speak to anyone who is thinking about needing some help and advice regarding any guarantees that they've signed up. And, it's not only the UK, because I appreciate that's where we're based, but it could be that they've given a guarantee to an overseas organisation. And it's like, can they get out of it? Do they need some help and advice? Or do they need a sounding board? Because, yes, I work in the UK jurisdiction, but I do have global experience in other areas as well. What am I looking for? I'm looking for a company director that is thinking, my business has just gone into insolvency, and it could be he or she. He or she's thinking, my business is literally about to go bust, and creditors, they're going to do a deal with me. That's not always the case. Creditors can be very, very aggressive and be like sharks. And if you're sitting up or lying awake at 2 o'clock in the morning thinking, how do I get out of the situation that I'm in? Then I'd say, feel free to have a look at my website, because I can definitely help you.
Right. And what is that website? How can people get in contact with you, Ron?
Sure. So the website is www.talktoron.co.uk or www.myfirstnameronsurnameMookerjee.com.
Right. Okay. Well, I know that you have a client appointment to get to, so I'm going to let you go. But listen, Ron, it's been a very insightful podcast. Thank you. And thank you for joining me today. And hopefully we'll have you back on the show at a later date.
Great. Thank you. Thank you very much, Sanjay.
Thanks to our audience for tuning in to this episode of Jibba Jabba. We hope that you found Ron's insights valuable in understanding how to resolve difficulties as a personal guarantee specialist. I think it goes without saying that, as with all financial matters, be it personal or business related, you should use due diligence and make informed decisions. And if in doubt, speak to the right specialist, such as Ron. I'll place his details in the podcast description box, but for those of you tuning in on Jibba Jabba Radio, Ron has already given out his email, his website address. Thanks, Ron, and stay tuned for more inspiring conversations and business tips. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to our show. Until next time, bye for now.